It's evening, a short while after the last battle in the tournament. Kenny is asleep by Gao's hospital bed with a book in his hand and the TV in the background. Suddenly, Gao's hands start moving slightly as he's frowning, still unconscious.
No, Dad, no.
He mutters in his sleep as his eyes suddenly open wide and he rises up with a horrified expression yelling,
Shadow!
Gao?
Kenny wakes up to the yell.
You've regained consciousness.
He shouts out in relief.
Thank goodness. You've no idea how worried I was.
He then hugs him, crying.
I nearly died of fright.
Calm down, Chief.
Gao looks slightly annoyed and confused at the same time as he says with a worn-out voice,
Where am I?
He looks around.
You're at the hospital. You were brought here because of head trauma and blood loss. Yaroslav said it looked like you had been training before losing consciousness.
Kenny lets him go and moves back, looking at him with a serious face.
Please tell me what happened. Where did you receive your wounds? Did someone attack you?
Gao gets a dark glare around his eyes.
Kenny, I need you to call my father.
You have something important to tell him?
Kenny asks with curiosity.
If so, you can tell me, and I'll pass.
Call him!
Gao interrupts Kenny in a demanding voice while getting up from the bed.
Wait!
Kenny looks at him with a worried face, reaching out.
I don't think you should be getting up. You're still severely injured.
Gao ignores him, getting up anyways as he begins putting his regular clothes back on.
I need you to tell him to come to the Statue of Liberty by midnight.
Kenny is unsure what to make of it, adding,
Calm down, Gao. It's late. I don't think Kai will.
Tell Dad it's urgent, and make sure Rin and Makoto come with you. I want them to be there as well.
Gao demands as he heads for the door. Then he looks back at Kenny with an angry face before leaving.
If he refuses, let him know that I will never forgive him. It's my one demand to see him tonight, no matter what.
Gao shuts the door, leaving the hospital in a hurry, thinking,
I have to know the truth, no matter what the price may be.
Thus, the most fateful chapter yet can now begin. Chapter 15, Unexpected Battle, Kai vs. Gao. The BBA Legacy, along with Taiki, has just gotten back to the motel after their battle against the African team. Taiki sits down feeling relieved.
That was really close.
Makoto sighs out, not looking too cheerful.
You can say that again.
Rin looks at Taiki.
Thank you again for helping us out. I don't know what we'd have done without you.
Taiki throws a glance at her.
Don't mention it. Just know I'll not stay on the team any longer than this. They still need my help with the Brotherhood investigation.
He then looks at Makoto, who's still looking rather gloomy.
Don't take your loss too personal, Makoto. It can happen to anyone. And you are still getting used to your new blade.
Makoto stares down.
It's just not this loss I'm thinking about.
Taiki sighs.
I see. Well, try to snap.
Suddenly, Makoto's phone starts ringing, interrupting Taiki. Makoto answers.
Kenny?
Taiki and Rin watches as Makoto's face changes from mopey to happier with each sentence.
Yep. Oh? That's great! For real? What? Of course we'll come!
Rin and Taiki seem extremely surprised, Taiki adding,
Talk about sudden mood change. What was that all about?
Makoto hangs up the phone.
Gao has woken up!
Rin smiles big.
That's a relief!
Taiki adds,
Well, I guess this means you won't really need me anymore.
Makoto get up seeming in high spirit for the first time since losing to Trace.
This is great! I'm certain with Gao back in action, our streak of bad luck will finally turn around.
Rin watches him curiously.
Did he say anything else?
Makoto looks at his friends, declaring,
Yeah, I almost forgot. Apparently Gao has arranged some kind of urgent meeting with his dad by the Statue of Liberty at midnight, and he wants us to be there. Kenny will be here to pick us up in a couple hours.
Taiki is confused.
That certainly seems strange.
Rin looks suspicious.
No kidding. If he wants to discuss something, why not just do it over the phone? And why at midnight in particular when it's several hours away? He did claim it was urgent, didn't he?
Makoto laughs.
Come on, this is Gao we're talking about. He's probably just trying to be dramatic.
He then smiles wide, pointing at Rin.
Hey, remember that time Gao challenged me by midnight at Aoki River? He was acting super dramatic.
Rin points out,
Yeah, but that was back when you were enemies.
Makoto clenches both his fists in excitement.
I can't wait until Gao is back with us. I wonder what our next argument is going to be about.
Taiki looks at him in confusion.
You have a weird view of friendship.
Makoto raises his fist into the air, calling out,
It's gonna be epic! With Gao on our team, we still have a chance to win this thing.
Rin looks down with a sad face, thinking,
I don't know exactly why, but something feels fishy about this.
Meanwhile, in the dark of night, Gao is ripping his blade by the Statue of Liberty. Dranzer is spinning fiercely through in the grass, as Gao thinks,
I have to master this quickly.
He then looks out over the ocean into the far-off horizon.
There's no turning back now.
The wind blows through him and his blade as he thinks.
I finally uncovered the perfect strategy to defeat you, once and for all.
Then he gets a mad expression, finishing,
Father, we're gonna settle this tonight.
He turns around and screams.
Dranzer!
Then he continues training ferociously for the remaining hours. As the hours pass along midnight, Kai finally arrives sitting in his limousine, looking out the window at the bright full moon. He's wearing a very strict expression. The limousine stops with the driver opening the door for him. Kai gets out and walks calmly towards the Statue of Liberty. Gao stands, still looking out over the ocean, remembering his past battle with Shadow and all the things he said. Makoto and company show up by the upper ground part of the statue. Makoto runs forth to the railing as soon as he sees Gao standing down below as he screams out in pure joy.
Gao, you're back!
Gao turns around glaring at him as Makoto screams out.
You've no idea how much we've missed you, buddy!
Makoto expects an arrogant remark, but Gao ignores him, saying nothing and turns around as footsteps are heard in the distance. You see Kai's shoes marching forth on the walkway towards Gao, as Gao gains a determined look with hidden aggression as he walks ahead too. Kenny turns around slightly surprised, saying,
Kai?
As they both get closer to each other, Kenny calls out,
I'm sorry you had to come here in such a hurry, Kai, but I'm sure...
I certainly hope this is as important as you first insinuated.
Kai adds, walking up to his son, seeming slightly intimidating.
It's important to me.
Gao bites together, staring into his eyes.
Very well. Tell me what happened.
Kai looks at his son's bruises.
Who did you fight when you got those injuries?
That's none of your concern, Dad.
Gao brings up his launcher and blade, looking on with a doubtful face.
But I have a very important favor to ask of you.
Kai looks at his son calmly while not saying anything as Gao declares,
Father, I want you to grant me a battle against you right here and now so I can...
I'm not interested.
Kai interrupts, turning around and starting to walk away. Kenny and the others are really confused. Gao steps forth, demanding,
Father, stop! I've trained very hard to test myself against you. It's something that has haunted me for a very long time. You have to give me a chance.
Kai stops and sighs.
I didn't come here to waste my time on some kid's game.
Kai continues walking, finishing,
Besides, what's the point of fighting a battle you can't ever hope to win?
Gao turns furious, raising his launcher.
How can you be so sure I haven't gotten stronger since you last saw me?
Kai continues walking slowly, ignoring Gao as he talks.
Do you even realize how long it's been since we last battled?
Gao looks slightly sad.
It's been years.
Kai continues to ignore him as Gao turns all furious, ripping his blade.
I said stop it!
Dranzer swishes by Kai's cheek, cutting it slightly, making a tiny bit of blood drip out. The BBA team's jaw drops as Kai stops and opens his eyes slightly. Gao sends his blade back to his hand as he calls out,
Bring out your Beyblade and fight me! Right here! Right now!
Kenny is really shocked and tries to lecture him.
Gao, calm down. Kai is an important businessman now. He doesn't carry a Beyblade.
Very well then.
Suddenly, Kai brings up Dranzer V2 from his pocket, since that was the last Beyblade he had that didn't break. He then turns towards Gao, looking at him.
If you're this persistent, I guess it can't really be helped.
He brings up a GM launcher, putting Dranzer V2 to it.
Just remember, no matter how this battle turns out, I won't hold back against you or try to spare your feelings.
Gao glares at his father with the eyes of a predator, answering,
That's just the way I wanted it.
This is crazy. We're gonna see a battle between Kai and Gao.
Makoto says, jumping up in excitement.
This is way more than I could have possibly ever hoped for.
Then he leans up over the railing, calling out,
Show him who's boss, Gao.
Gao doesn't answer with his usual sarcastic remarks. Rin watches worriedly, thinking,
Something's not right here.
Kenny watches, sweating, and thinking,
What is going on? When did Kai start mastering the GM launcher, and why is he carrying a Beyblade on him at this point?
He watches Kai, thinking,
Could it be he's getting ready for the Brotherhood?
Kai looks unaffected, saying,
Let's just get this over with.
And thus they both rip their bays with Gao screaming furiously.
let it rip!
Dronzer V2 is spinning wrathfully, blowing the grass and even pushing the waves of the ocean back into the opposite direction for miles ahead. The BBA watches in amazement while Gao charges in more furiously than he's ever has before, screaming,
Go Dronzer!
Dronzer MF strikes into the old Dronzer V2 again and again without moving it an inch. Kai looks ahead at his son with a bored expression. Dronzer MF takes up longer distances between each strike, going faster, and as Gao struggles, sweating and screaming in a fanatic voice,
Go on, Dronzer, strike him harder! 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 Harder!
Kai garners a look of anger as it seems that his son is serious.
Stop it with this childish display. If you wanted to fight me, you should have at least prepared yourself.
Gao bites together, trying to strike into Dronzer V2 yet again, while screaming with all he's got.
Then go attack!
But the strike is ineffective as Dronzer MF fly off into the distance.
That's enough. Go, Dronzer!
Kai screams, looking mad, sending Dronzer V2 for the attack against Dronzer MF. That's when Gao suddenly collapses onto his knees after running out of strength and screams out in pain.
Ah!
Kai interrupts his attack, looking on in shock and a slight hint of fear, remembering his son is still hurt. Rin moves up with a worried face.
What happened?
Makoto's jaw drop as he screams out.
Gao, what's wrong?
That's right, he was injured, and he shouldn't be battling at all.
Kenny adds and calls out.
We have to stop the battle here. Gao is too hurt to go on.
Gao bites together through the pain and says,
You're stopping nothing.
He looks up at his father with an infuriated expression.
Because I'm intent upon winning this fight.
He rises up instantly despite all the pain, screaming at the top of his lungs.
Dronzer!
Dronzer charges up from Gao's blade immediately, taking Kai by surprise as he screams.
Radiance flare!
Suddenly, a bright light blinds Kai and everybody there as Dronzer MF moves around Dronzer V2, and Gao adds,
I thought you'd promised me not to hold back.
He then screams.
Special attack! Barrel scorch!
Dronzer MF strikes into Dronzer V2, with a sea of flames flowing forth and around the opponent, hitting it back.
Again!
Gao screams, repeating the process, striking his father back. He then yells.
Again! Again! Again!
Repeating the attack each time, he shouts until Kai raises his arm after regaining his sight and stopping the attack instantly.
Will you stop playing around?
Making Dronzer V2 stand its ground, while Dronzer MF fly back.
Dronzer!
Gao is quick to make some distance between his and his father's blade, as Kai looks at him with great irritation.
This isn't a game anymore. You're injured and you lack all the strength required to win this battle.
Gao yells out desperately.
We'll see exactly how much strength I lack after I defeat you.
Kai looks at him with an aggravated expression.
You can't be serious.
I've never been more serious in my entire life.
Gao furiously shouts out, then adds,
Dronzer!
Dronzer MF moves in, going for Dronzer V2 without actually touching it, but cutting around it in fast, straight motions, burning the grass below. Kai seems very indifferent.
What do you think you're doing?
Careful, Dad, or that arrogant expression of yours is gonna get wiped straight off your face.
Gao suddenly calls out,
Special attack! Infinite combustion!
A spark from Dronzer MF hits Dronzer V2, erupting it into flames, burning it intensively, as Kai's eyes open wide.
What?
Kai sends it away, yelling.
Dronzer, move!
It moves fast, shaking off the flames as Gao suddenly smirks evilly, saying,
Got you.
Dronzer V2 moves over the grass where Dronzer MF moved before, when Gao suddenly calls out yet another new attack name he's added to his arsenal.
Internal ignition!
And the grass sets ablaze on several spots where Dronzer MF moved. Gao reaches his hands out, clenching them, making flames appear throughout the various places, cutting its way over Kai's path as Gao declares,
You better watch where you move, or you're gonna get burned.
Kai looks mad as Dronzer V2 zigzags through the various traps like a cat and mouse game. Makoto is completely awestruck.
I can't believe it! Gao is dominating the match!
Kenny watches in shock, not sure what to believe, as he thinks,
Kai, I don't know what's up with Gao, but be careful.
As Dronzer V2 is busy dodging the various hotspots that Gao created, Dronzer MF had been building up a flame around itself, condensing it into a glowing ring of massive heat.
Flame cutter!
Gao screams out the name of yet another special attack, as he strikes forth, hitting it into Dronzer V2 over and over, cutting into it like a chainsaw, using that blazing ring of heat, striking it into the burning flame traps, deliberately making it melt slightly. and as Dronzer V2 tries to regain balance, which it quickly does, Gao moves Dronzer MF away as soon as he notices his opponent can't be pushed around anymore.
I certainly did not expect this.
Kai stands, smirking with his arms crossed in the smoke from all the fires watching his son. Gao adds angrily,
You better expect much more because I'm just getting started.
Kenny is shocked, adding,
Just how many new attacks has Gao pulled out of his sleeve until now?
Rin looks worried, thinking,
Exactly what has he been up to?
Special attack! Flame Char!
Gao screams as his flare cutter separates into tiny balls of heat. Kenny's jaw drops completely as he's recording like crazy, thinking,
Another?
Dronzer, dodge!
Kai calls out, moving his hand down as Dronzer MF sends a ball of flames towards his opponent, making it burst out, burning. Dronzer MF move in again like it's going to attack directly, but instead stops, thus flinging one of those balls of flames, making it burn up furiously where it hits.
Dronzer, don't give him an inch!
Gao screams out desperately, repeating the attack several times over as Kai dodges it constantly until he's suddenly caught right where Gao wanted him. Kai watches his son in great but subtle surprise as Gao is sweating and breathing heavily trying to keep up. Kai looks down at all the grass that is burning around them, noticing he's caught in a trap right in the middle of it all.
This doesn't make any sense.
Kai is confused.
The grass shouldn't be burning like this. It's wet grass.
Wet with liquor.
Gao smiles as Kai's eyes open wide. Gao raises both his hands, declaring,
If you had bothered to watch my previous battles, you'd have known what's next.
The entire BBA team watch in utter disbelief, Kenny adding,
He couldn't have.
Let's figure out the truth, shall we?
Gao thinks, then clenches both his fists, screaming out with all his rage into the heaven.
Flamebow to bore!
Suddenly, the entire battlefield explodes in flames, sending the two of them flying back, both bladers and bays alike. The BBA team screams in horror with the fire lighting up the sky and the sea itself tilting back, this time not due to Kai, but due to Gao copying and learning Jung's attack that gave him so much trouble in the past. Kenny screams out in terror.
Kai! Gao!
As the attack erupts into smoke, you see the flames engulfing everything around. The BBA team are coughing as Gao lies down on the pavement with the flame-filled grass surrounding him as he looks up, remembering long ago, as a very young child when he was riding Kai's shoulders watching his first professional Bey battle. It switches over to Kai teaching him long ago as they Bey battle just for fun, and teaching him how to customize his own Beyblade. It ends on a younger Gao lying in bed, Kai lying beside him while they are watching his battle against Tyson on the computer. Little Gao watches in amazement, saying,
Dad, you're the coolest. One day I want to be just like you.
Gao bites together in anger and sadness, thinking,
I remember now. Long ago, I used to look up to you.
He struggles to get up, thinking,
That was the very reason I was trying to become so strong in the first place.
He rises through the pain, coughing as he continuously thinks,
All I was trying to do was gain your stupid approval.
He gets up completely. He looks on in complete fury, thinking,
Now that I know the truth, I am utterly disgusted with how I once felt. All I want now...
A flame sets ablaze in Gao's eyes as he's thinking,
All I want now is to make you pay.
The BBA team are stunned. Kenny runs forth, calling out,
Gao? What were you thinking? Are you trying to kill your own father or something?
It'd take way more than that to kill him.
Gao responds, looking ahead as Kai's silhouette appearing in the smoke. Footsteps are walking straight through the burning grass, and Kai moves his hands up, grabbing his burned-up suit, ripping the upper part straight off, throwing it away, coming out of the smoke shirtless and bruised, but still unscathed as he adds,
Seems like I'm going to have to buy a new suit.
He looks on angrily as the smoke moves away, revealing something that makes Kenny's jaw drop.
This can't be.
Rin looks on in shock too.
How?
Makoto trembles.
It's impossible!
Two
Dronzers?
The camera pans out hastily, revealing two Dronzer bits, one attached to Dronzer MF, which is slightly darker in tone, and another that's attached to Dronzer V2, which is of brighter tone. Kenny pulls his hair, shouting,
How is this possible? What the hell is going on? Somebody explain this now before I lose my mind!
Gao smirks, adding,
It's very simple, Coach.
Kai stands silent as Gao explains.
There's this old ability available only to bladers that reach a certain level, the ultimate level. It allows you to divide the beast, splitting its powers and abilities into different fractions. That's exactly what my father decided to do before passing Dronzer on to me. dividing him into two so the bit would only be at half of its full power.
Everybody's eyes open wide, Kenny adding,
But if your Dronzer has been at only half his strength this entire time, that means...
Makoto is confused.
What does it mean, Chief?
Kenny gets outright taken aback once the reality sets in.
If Gao's Dronzer has been at only half its power, that means Gao should in truth have been twice as powerful than he was throughout the entire tournament. Every battle up until this point, he'd have won. And honestly, there's no telling how powerful he could have become by now if his conditions were the same as they once were for Kai, since he always had Dronzer at its full power.
Makoto jumps back.
Hold on. Does that mean that Gao has been secretly super strong this entire time?
Gao watches his father with great disdain.
I thought it was strange how calm you seemed when I lost Dronzer to the Red Fang, but now it all makes perfect sense. You never had to worry about anything because you always knew they never captured Dronzer at his full strength, and you had the rest of them right in the palm of your hand.
Flashbacks are shown of all of Gao's previous losses and hardships, especially when fighting Yaroslav.
Every pain I've endured, every loss I've taken, every setback that I have ever experienced, every misery I've ever had throughout my entire life.
He points at Kai with great loathing.
I owe it all to this man!
Kai watches him not answering. Everyone is shocked and Rin thinks back to what Bogdan said.
Gao might be determined and decent enough, but he's never displayed much talent. In fact, in every single ranking done back at the Abbey, both me and Piotr are always ranked above him. That's why we both agree Gao is having way too hard of a time getting stronger while constantly taking water over his head challenging the top student Yaroslav, a true genius. Even though he's always failed, he kept going until the pressure became too much for him, and he left the Abbey entirely.
Rin closes her eyes, biting together.
It all makes sense now.
Gao clenches his fist, screaming out.
And to imagine the only time that bastard ever gave me any recognition at all was when passing on Dronzer to me. But now I find out that was all a lie.
Makoto whispers to Rin.
Gee, I had no idea Gao's dad was such a big jerk.
Kenny moves his hand in front of Makoto to make him be quiet, but still seems slightly confused, asking,
What's the big idea, Kai? Why did you decide to do that? I mean, it seems rather unnecessary.
I had my reasons. Furthermore, I'd like to know who told you of this ability.
Kai then moves his eyes back to Gao.
Clearly you constantly tried to push me to the edge, until I revealed this secret to you. So, who told you? Was it Yaroslav?
It's none of your business.
Gao calls out, getting ready for battle.
Spiral Furnace!
I can't help it if you can't handle my decision. I still had my reasons.
Kai moves Dronzer V2 in for another attack, moving in with a barrage of moves, striking after Dronzer MF.
I don't care what your reasons are. I'll never forgive you for what you did to me.
Gao calls out once they hit, making them both explode, sending them flying away. Kai steps back angrily, declaring,
Suit yourself, kid.
Gao glares back at his father with great resentment.
Infinite combustion!
He makes a move similar to Flaming Tempest, gathering flames around his blade, but then making them explode as he screams.
Flambeau Tempor!
Tiny fragments of fire fly up over Dronzer V2 once it's far away enough. Gao starts doing the Flambeau Tempor over and over again as Kai has to send his blade running away from the attacks. The teammates watch completely stunned as Dronzer V2 moves out of the way, and Kai looks at Gao angrily.
That's enough! Blazing gigs!
Dronzer V2 flashes in towards Dronzer MF, hitting it away hard, sending Gao flying back onto the flames below him, in the grass being burned.
Gao!
His BBA friends shout in great worry. Kai is shocked at what he did, hitting his son so hard, but Gao gets up quickly, screaming with great rage.
Before this is over, I'll never see you as my father ever again. I'll rid myself of every little bond I had with you, even if it's the last thing I do.
It's time I put an end to this fight. Go, Dronzer! Finish it!
Kai gets back in the game again, deciding he's had enough of this battle. Not realizing what the Flambeau Tempor is all about, he charges in with Dronzer V2 at its full force, realizing all its blazing glory, as the now fanatical Gao moves his hand forth, filled with hatred, screaming,
Flambeau Tempor!
The BBA team scream in desperation.
Stop!
Because Kai's attack was so strong, this Flamebow Tempor attack becomes more powerful than all the others, sending Kai flying into the air with blood coming from his mouth. Gao flying away with his entire arm burned as he's screaming in agony.
No!
A large section of the area surrounding the Statue of Liberty breaks apart, flying into the water, with Kai landing on his feet, breathing heavily with some blood coming from his mouth, completely astonished, not knowing what to think. Dronzer V2 moves up by his side as he looks over to the other end in horror. Waiting for the smoke to clear, he calls out with a hint of fear.
Gao?
Gao that landed on the opposite end in the glowing grass, hurting him even more before he gets up with an insufferable look in his eyes, holding his burned hand, shouting out to his father.
I hate you! I hate you with every ounce of my being, and I hate every part of me that is like you! I wish you were dead!
That moment, for a second, Kai looks completely crushed, not knowing what to say.
Kai?
Kenny looks worried as Kai gather a grim expression and Dronzer MF is revealed still spinning. Suddenly, 2 phoenix wings begin to form on Kai's back as he wears that look of frustration.
Kai, what are you doing?
Kenny gets completely horrified as he knows what that power means.
I don't care how strong you are. I'll still fight you. Even if it kills me, I'll still...
Gao says as he's starting to look scared, seeing Kai fly over to his side along with his blade at ultra high speed and full power. The memories of their past and Gao's youth flashes before them in front of Kai's face, covered in darkness, while Kenny screams.
Kai, don't!
Gao bites together, closing his eyes like he's about to be utterly obliterated, sensing the true power of his father. When his father's blade is just about to hit his, and Gao is reaching out with his burned hand about to do the Flamebow Tempor, not caring how devastating it'd turn out, or even if it'd end up costing him his life. Just as the hit is about to be made, when Gao is on the verge of closing his fist, Kai's arms suddenly wrap around him, hugging him. Kai stunning his son immediately as his fist drops.
I don't care what you do, what you say. I don't care whether you're strong or not. I don't care even if you try to hurt me.
Kai's wings disappear as he holds Gao tightly.
Because no matter what happens, you'll still be my son. And even if you hate me, I'll always love you with all of my heart.
Kenny is touched, as he's never seen Kai show this much emotion.
Kai, I'd never...
The anger within Gao is slipping away from him as he trembles, nearly crying, hearing the words he's wanted to hear for such a long time. It'd all been over right there, unless Kai made one major mistake and asked,
Now tell me, who was it that made you do this?
Gao's eyes open wide as he remembers Shadow's words.
Remember, this is all just a game to him. You're just a minor set piece in a much larger board, and sooner or later, you're going to find that out.
Gao's face cringes together in anger, and he clenches his fist, punching it straight at his father's face.
It was you!
Rin and Makoto jump back in shock.
Gao?
Gao strikes his father's blade, sending him flying back with his attack.
I don't need your pity!
He starts striking his father over and over with his blade, sending his flame attacks for his father's body, but Kai moves his hands, piercing them as Gao rants fanatically.
You never cared before, so why would you care now? It's just because you want something.
Gao hits his father again and again with his attacks as Kai steps back slowly.
I know why you kept half of Dronzer from me, turning my life into a living hell. You were resentful of me having the potential to surpass you. You, the washed-up, second-rate nobody that could never defeat Tyson.
Gao continuously attacks him, losing his mind, but Kai doesn't fight back, but instead endures his attacks.
You, the mighty dumbass Kai that was too much of a coward to unlock Dronzer's true potential. A master fool that could have stood on the top of the world, but he chose not to.
Kai is nearly being pushed over the edge, as Gao screams.
The only reason I'm not the best in the world right now is because I have you as my father.
Gao's eyes get completely crazy as he screams out.
I'll be the one to destroy you!
Right there, as Gao is about to push Kai over the edge, he loses control of his blade, because he hates it so much, and it flies away into his stomach, pushing him to his knees.
Oh no! Gao!
Makoto shouts, getting up against the railing to run over to help him. Kenny grabs him.
Hold it, Makoto. Gao will mistake your sympathy for pity.
Kai stands still in silence as he's sending his blade up to his hand, watching Gao.
I can't undo the past, but I could try to mend the future, if that's what you want. You're still my son.
Gao looks up at his father with great resentment.
You're no longer my father.
Gao picks his blade and struggles to rise.
And we have absolutely no future together.
Gao starts stumbling away, barely able to walk.
The next time we meet, I'll have become strong enough to defeat you.
Kai looks at him limping away as he thinks,
If that's how you truly feel, I guess I've no choice but to allow you to process through it.
Makoto looks at Gao as he walks past them.
Gao, what are you...
Gao doesn't look at him, just stares while walking on.
I'll see you in the finals, Makoto.
Makoto tries to go after him, but Kenny stops him, adding,
Gao needs to process this on his own. A lot of stuff seems to have happened.
Rin is concerned.
I can't believe he went so far. How can we even trust him once he's back?
Kenny responds in a sad voice.
Just give him some time. I'm sure he'll recover and be back to his old self in due time. He was upset. We all say, do, and think things we don't quite mean when we're lost like that.
Kai stands silently looking at his blade as we switch to the Brotherhood hideout, where Skelton is applauding Shadow, praising him.
Quite an impressive move you made there, Master Shadow. You used the distrust of his son to its fullest extent. But what's your final goal? Do you really intend to mold the son into killing his father with the very same blade he once gave to him? It would be quite poetic, if you don't mind me saying so.
Shadow is polishing his black Dronzer MS blade.
Tell me, Skelton, are sadistic urges all that drives you? You know I do not approve of murder without meaning.
Skelton raises an eyebrow.
Meaningless murder? I don't know what you're talking about.
Shadow throws a strict glance at him.
You know very well of what I speak of.
A flashback is shown from Chapter 11 when Skelton killed the students.
Sometimes even the weakest of game pieces could prove to be of the greatest value, and only a fool would get rid of them all before testing their full potential.
Skelton chuckles.
Oh, you mean the little painting that I started back at Balkov Abbey?
Skelton turns around, walking away.
Trust me, that bunch had no greater purpose to serve than the one I've now given them.
Skelton smirks big.
The chain effect of their deaths will unfold soon enough, and just like you taught me, I'll use it to move the world on a grand scale, shaping the outcome to my desire.
Shadow glares at him scarily.
Seems like I taught you well then. There are times I wonder if it was, perhaps, a bit too well.
Skelton walks away.
It was well enough for me to know which piece to move next.
Skelton leaves the room as familiar steps comes walking up the stairs.
You've done very well, just like you said you would.
Mr. Skelton.
Skelton turns around with a smirk, revealing who it is.
Taiki, my boy. I always knew you had potential, but never in my wildest dreams did I imagine you'd be able to infiltrate your way to the very top of the BBA.
He stares at Taiki while he continues.
It's rare I say this, but I'm glad I spared you, despite your past mistakes.
Taiki bows his head.
It's an honor to finally be back in your ranks, Mr. Skelton, sir.
Thus, the chapter ends.